You know what's one of the best movie studios of all time? Pixar. That's right, I don't just believe that they're one of the best animation studios out there on par with DreamWorks or Sony Animation or anything like that, who have made great stuff. I think they're one of the greatest movie studios of all time. They've produced classic after classics such as Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, Monsters Inc., etc. After getting their movies distributed by Disney, they were starting to rival them in terms of the amount of classics that they were producing. And I'm sure that was part of the reason why Disney swooped them up. I'm sure they're also part of the reasons we got Cars 2, Cars 3, Toy Story 3, Toy Story 4, Incredibles 2, Finding Dory. This is a studio that has meant so much to me, especially when I was a kid. It kind of made me fall in love with movies. Even though Cars isn't their greatest work, I just remember watching that movie and feeling so inspired, this feeling inside of me like I wanted to do something with my life. Which is a weird thought for a 4-year-old to have, but you know what, that's a good job on them. And even today, Pixar is making great stuff. And while yes, we occasionally get the Brave, or the Good Dinosaur, or the Onward, which Onward isn't terrible, but it's just fine. But from Pixar, I don't really expect fine. But more so than not, they do produce some amazing stuff that rivals some of their best work from back in the day, like Inside Out and Coco, and I really liked Soul too, even though that movie does have its problems. Hell, I attribute a lot of Pixar's success to what has made Disney more successful. You gotta remember, only a couple years ago, Disney was putting out stuff like Bolt. No one really hates Bolt, but no one really likes it either. Except for like 6-year-old me who watched it 5 times in a row, I'm pretty sure, on a trip back from Germany, and then I stood in the middle of the airport and let out a giant bark. We don't talk about that. Since them acquiring Pixar, I think that's inspired the studio to make some truly great stuff, and they've made some really great stuff in recent years. I can make an entire video on the modern age of Disney starting with Tangled all the way up until now, and while I definitely expect to do that at some point, we're here to not necessarily talk about them in the best light. Not talking on their quality or anything like that, except you. I don't like you. But more so how they've affected Disney's mindset, and how Disney is affecting Pixar. If you haven't been keeping up with the news since 2020, some stuff has definitely been going on in the world, and as I'm sure you know, that's affected movie theaters, only getting a billion-dollar film for the first time recently with Spider-Man No Way Home. And even though family movies have actually done pretty solid at the box office, they haven't done amazing or as amazing as they used to. They're not pulling in those billions of dollars like, wait a minute. Pixar? Yeah, I'm not sure if you kept up, but if you had Pixar on the title, it was gonna make a lot of money at the box office. But of course what happened in the world happened, things changed. Funnily enough, the first big movie of the pandemic era was Onward, which is a Pixar movie. The film opened on March 6th, which is when everything was actually really getting started with COVID. The film only made around $39 million at the box office opening weekend, which just for reference, in the 21st century, that's their worst opening ever. Yes, even worse than Good Dinosaur, only by a couple million. Well, of course, this original story not having a pre-established franchise isn't going to do as well as Toy Story 4 and Incredibles 2, which only released a couple years earlier. Those grossed around over $100 million, but even films like Inside Out, which can be compared to Onward, had an opening of $90 million at the box office. Remember, this is during the pandemic era, so of course the film was not going to do as good as it possibly could, almost doubling its opening. And since then, we've seen 2 Pixar movies, Soul and Luca. But guess what happened to these movies? They were dumped on Disney Plus, Disney's streaming service, ladies and gentlemen, skipping their theatrical release just for some extra subscribers on Disney Plus. Now, I understand the business move. I'm not going to dog Disney for that. They can easily make more money off subscribers and ticket sales if they actually start putting content on the service that makes people want to get it, other than like Mandalorian and WandaVision. So, a brand new Pixar movie, why not? With a movie like Soul, yeah, that sucks, but I get why they did it. That was December 2020. Things were still really bad around that time. But Luca, I get it. Luca's not a big Pixar movie. It's probably one of their most chill and laid back and small-scale movies in a while. I don't know, man. A lot of big blockbusters and other movies are releasing in theaters without a streaming option. I don't get why they couldn't have at least tested the waters with a Pixar movie again. Especially because a lot of family movies weren't and aren't doing that bad at the box office. You can make your money back. You just aren't going to make as big of a return as you'd like. What about now, Ricardo? Pixar has 2 movies releasing this year, Turning Red and Lightyear. Sure, stuff's still going on in the world, but that's not stopping movies like The Batman and Doctor Strange from releasing in only a couple months. Heck, two animated family films released only a couple months ago, Sing 2 and Disney's own Encanto. Both didn't have streaming options when released. Surely these movies will be fine. As of right now, for Lightyear, we're not sure. Remember, this is a movie based off of Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story movies, their most lucrative and successful property. But we can't say the same for Turning Red, because it was recently announced that that movie will be heading straight to Disney+. No premiere access that was given to Raya and the Last Dragon, a Disney movie, with a co-theatrical release. No, this is a Disney Plus original. This is the third straight Pixar movie to skip theaters. After one, it's like, okay, I guess, but going on three years after you first started doing this, that's a little much, especially because this is not what they're doing with their own animated movies. Like I said, Encanto had a theatrical release, even if that theatrical window was very short, the film now being on Disney+. Raya and the Last Dragon had a theatrical release, but when it was on Disney+, it was premiere access, meaning you had to pay to see it. That's way more respectable and acceptable, in my opinion, than just dumping it on the service. I would much rather support the film and the people who made it by paying to see it on Disney Plus rather than just dumping it on there like it's some piece of garbage. This isn't Diary of a Wimpy Kid. This is a Pixar movie. I know this sounds like a good deal and I should probably be happy that I don't have to pay money to go see this movie in theaters or even pay to watch it on Disney Plus. I'm getting it for free. I should be happy, right? Yeah, I should. But I'm not. I feel bad for the studio that has been putting out great work for so long. Some of your most classic movies ever aren't even your movies. They're Pixar movies. The studio that is still pumping out great stuff to this day, even if it isn't on par with that original work. They're still incredibly creative and talented. When the Pixar CEO was coming out and being disappointed, when your staff is reportedly very disappointed, you know you're doing something wrong. These people pouring years of their lives into these pieces of art just for you to toss them away for a quick buck. It must suck. And it sucks extra more because, like I said, there are more ethical ways to do it. I don't like the direction that Disney is going in. And I'm not one of those anti-Disney people. If I don't like something Disney, you know something's wrong. Because I love Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars, all companies that they've owned, and for the most part I've liked what they've done with those companies. But a lot of the good stuff that's come out of those was when Bob Iger was the CEO of Disney. Spoiler alert, he is not the CEO anymore. It's this guy named Bob Chapek, and I'm not sure if you heard about him, but he is not doing a great job. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm this business savvy guy, but as an outsider looking in, I see a lot of incompetence going on over there. He's just been treating the studios and the people who make these movies really poorly. It's not like he's going to Scarlett Johansson, slapping her in the face and calling her a misogynistic slur, but the way he's handling these situations just shows a lot of unprofessionalism and incompetence. And that obviously applies to the way the studios are being treated, especially Pixar. Pixar is not just some other studio. They are Pixar. They carried you for a long time. This mindset of, oh, it's not Disney animation, so therefore it's lesser, is just gonna hurt them and your company in the long run. If things keep going this way, I honestly don't know where I'm going to see Pixar in a couple years, if they'll even be the same studio. I will not be surprised if a lot of these people leave Pixar, go on to start their own studios or go work for another, and turn them into the next Pixar. God forbid Illumination actually becomes a good studio because you run everybody out of town. Things aren't looking bright, but things aren't looking incredibly down either. Lightyear looks amazing. The animation, what they're going for, the ambition in it, it looks so different and cool and unique, which is not something I expected to say for a Toy Story spinoff. There is a lot of potential in this, and this could really be Pixar's next big hit, if Disney allows it to be. I want to see Disney grow a pair. I want them to throw away whatever ignorance or ego they have about Pixar and how it's not Disney, so therefore it's lesser. Don't jump in on Disney Plus, God forbid, and I don't even want it to have premiere access. I want the full theatrical experience for a Lightyear. Give it a shot. Show what a Pixar movie can do at the box office, because good movies will get people in theaters. This whole stuff that's going on with Disney and Pixar is really weird. A lot of what I'm saying and a lot of the accusations I'm throwing at Disney, I'll be honest, aren't entirely based in fact, but from the outside looking in, it looks that way. Why is Disney getting this treatment and Pixar isn't? It's so weird. This is an amazing studio that has produced some of the greatest movies of all time. Heck, Cars isn't a work of art, but it's one of your highest selling brands. They deserve so much love and respect that Disney just right now isn't giving them, and it's because of the leadership, I believe. Heck, there's a reason why the man isn't head of the board and rumors of Iger returning. I don't like the direction this is going, but things can change. They can always change. Things aren't set in stone. Pixar has a lot more years left in them, and with the guide of Pete Doctor, I'm sure whatever they'll make will be amazing.
25, they said 25 on P on one side, he just turned 18. Sun shining when they hit my cousin, it was like a month past MLK Day. Shit, some nights I see him between the shadows and my smoke, man. God could watch me sin, he turned away from all my foes, man. 45, we got a 45, and I pray to God he don't bring him, man. Sunset and just another text in that last semester.